All right, so we are in week 5, and this is the topics we are going to cover today. Database administration. Mainly, we'll talk about user creation and privileges. We'll talk about log files again. We'll talk about backup and restore. And the last topic will be MySQL table maintenance. So in this slide, you can see this is the control panel, XAMPP control panel, and those who are using Microsoft Workbench or MS Workbench, you will have a control panel as well, just a little different. And is there anyone has any problem in my class is not using XAMPP? Could you please just tell me if you are not? I hope XAMPP is running for everybody, right? It is little difficult for me if I go tell or take a screenshot for both software. That will be very time consuming. So I'm just giving emphasis on XAMPP, but I'm pretty much covering both software. So you can see if you go here, I hope you can see my screen and go for MySQL. You can see this MySQL 8 command line client. If you click here, it will be open this for Workbench. And if you go here, this XAMPP, for this XAMPP, you can see on the control panel, there is a shell button. So if you click here in this shell, the command prompt will be opening, right? So if you go in this slide, in next slide, you can see this is the prompt, and you can log in using this command. MySQL -u or -u is calling the username, and -p is for password. So let's see what we can see here in so when you log in XAMPP, by default we use root so that we have all privileges, right? So MySQL and user root and the password, and password is none. So I'm clicking here, and you can see here I got the prompt from MySQL server. So let's see show databases, and you can see those are the databases here, right? And if you quit, and it will quit. So again, I'm in the log out from the server. And in next slide, so this is how we can log in a Workbench or XAMPP shell or command line environment or window. Now, this is the screen we can see from PHP MyAdmin. And if I click here, MyAdmin, it will bring it to PHP MyAdmin. And after that, okay, you can see this tab, user accounts. If I click here, you can see these users, and those users are added by the MySQL server itself, and those are available under this MySQL database. And you can see a lot of tables or relations here, or schemas here. So let's go back in user table again. So I'm going home and click on user accounts. And you can see the host name column and root has multiple users, and that's users are added by the system while installation. So if you go for any is a username, and you can see this percentage sign, that means any host. So in practice, when we are using our server, we are using with local host, or you can replace with 128.0.1. This is the IP address for your local server. And this 3309 is my port for Apache, for web server port. But it should be sufficient enough to run with this thing. So here you can see this percentage means any domain. So a server might have multiple domain and subdomain. So if a user has this thing, that means that user access of all domains running from that server. This PMA from local and root for this, root for this, and root for local host. And and you can see those all are represented in 3 different ways for 3 root accounts. Now, in case of privileges, it's only usage, and all privileges, because root has the full access of the server. So this is the privilege. Now let's go back to the slide. So now you're familiar with this window. And if I go back again, you can see add users, right? So if you click here, you can add user. So you can give a username, say I'm giving my name, and I can say use text field. So I'm not taking any user, I'm taking text field and putting my name. For convenience, I can make actually all small. Any host or local. So if you choose any, then this is the sign. Or you can create your own host, whatever. If you have a host table, then you can pick using those host table for different domains. So for here, let's choose local. Password, no password. Now, this is the window is talk about those privileges, right? So if I go only data, it's data, structure, structure. And if you select all, then it will give you all access of these privileges. So we'll talk quite a bit about those privileges. Let's go back to the slide again. And so we know how to use and how to add an account or user account or a user in a MySQL server. The same way you can actually remove that. Let's go back. Let's go back to the user account. So if you click here and remove, so you have to drop, then go, so that you can drop a user, but you will not be able to drop root users from the system. I'm not sure if we can even drop PMA. Let's see. Yes, we can. So I'm not going to remove it. Rather, you can add an user and remove it when you will be practicing it. Okay. So now let's click on the edit privilege. Now say for PMA, let's see if PMA what kind of, so PMA basically has no privileges other than creating an account. If I go back, then let's choose root. And if you go in root, you can see all privileges are there for root. So you can do whatever you want to do with this MySQL server, okay, or XAMPP environment for Apache and MySQL. Let's go back to the slide. So this slide is telling us how to deal with user from graphical user interface of XAMPP, and you will have the same environment for MS Workbench. So the operations we do here with graphical user interface, you can did the same thing with this create user command and identified by password. This is the command line, and you can also do the grant thing with this password. So in the lab practice, I actually ask you to do all those practice to create a shell and create user, add privilege to the user, remove user. So all you can do with the command line or by going this window in your MySQL server. So you are going to practice those in the lab tomorrow. Okay. I'm not going to run those commands now because probably will be over time. We cannot do those. So I'm leaving those for running those because this is not programming. So I'm not running. It is just simple command and it will not be a problem to run for you. Now let's talk about more detail about privileges. So we can see this generally 4 types of privileges for a SQL Server users. First one is global privileges, database privileges, proxy privileges, and privileges for database objects. So let's take help from the machine to read this slide.
Global privileges apply to all databases on the server. Administrative privileges fall into the global group because they enable a user to manage operations of the MySQL server and aren't specific to a particular database. Database privileges apply to specific databases in your MySQL instance and all of the objects within those databases, example tables, columns, and views. You can also grant database privileges globally. Proxy privileges allow a user to act as if they have the privileges granted to another user. Privileges for database objects, tables, columns, stored routines, views, etc., can apply to all objects of one type within a particular database or to specific objects, such as a certain table or view. You can also grant database object privileges globally.
Okay. So there are mainly 2 differences here. Global privileges means a user has all the privileges possible. And root is one of the example of the global privileges. And that's the administrator of the MySQL server. Now, database privileges only for databases, but you can make this database privilege globally. So if you make this globally, in that case, in this privilege, that user has all the databases, but cannot perform the administrative tasks like user management or give privileges, assign privileges to the user, but will have access of all database. So proxy privilege allow a user to act as if they have the privilege grant to another user. So you have some sort of administrative capability if you have a proxy privilege proxy privilege priority. Now privileges for database objects. So you say we talked about views, and this is a very good example, or routines. So in that case, you can actually create a user and give only access to the views. So that's kind of different database objects. Instead of giving the full database access, you only give. So it is not even table level, that's in an object level. And you can actually grant those globally as well. Say give access for all views of different databases. So those are those different kind of privileges in MySQL server. Now, you can see in this window, when you talked about those different kind of privileges, right? So structure privilege, administrative privilege, and data privileges, right? So this slide talk about those. So when you do use the command line, because we are clicking here, right? We are just clicking here to give different privilege. So we are putting check mark. So if it is not check mark, if you go in a command line, then you have to add those arguments in your command line. And that's why you need to know about what does it mean. So if you write in your command line all privileges, it means these would allow MySQL user full access to a designated database, or no database selected means global access across the system. So that's all privileges. So let's see, read the whole slide.
All privileges. As we saw previously, this would allow a MySQL user full access to a designated database, or if no database is selected, global access across the system. Create allows them to create new tables or databases. Drop allows them to delete tables or databases. Delete allows them to delete rows from tables. Insert allows them to insert rows into tables. Select allows them to use the select command to read through databases. Update allow them to update table rows. Grant option allows them to grant or remove other users' privileges.
Right. And for clarification, say if you give the create access to a user, but didn't give the drop. So in that case, that user can only create objects or tables or databases, but will not be able to drop it. So those are those different levels, and those arguments you'll be using if you use a command line to create users and give privileges. And you can see here, those grant all privileges. See, so those are those keywords we'll be using in those arguments you'll be using if you create a user with command line and assigning different privilege levels. So those are those commands, command lines for assigning privileges to a user that you created. Okay, and you can use show grants so that you can see grants or kind of grants associated with that user. Now, taking off, if you uncheck, then it's take off. Same way you can use revoke command. So taking off some privileges from a certain user. Removing a user, so that's deleting user or dropping user. So this is the command line that we saw in the window from PHP MyAdmin page and from the user button. So that's all about different creating user. So 3 things we covered so far: how to use your shell or command line, login using your command line, how to create user, remove user, and deal with different privileges assigning to a user, and explanation of those privileges. So those things are covered so far. At this point, I'm just stop sharing and come forward if you have any question. So at this point, we are going to talk about the server log files, and we introduced the log files in our previous class and presented this table in our previous class. So we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 types of log files. And those log files, the location of the log files is here. And for XAMPP, here. So if you go, let's go here and here. No, let's go and see XAMPP folder, and the location is in MySQL and data. So there should be MySQL here. And if you go under data, you can see the log file, and you can see this one. And this another log. So those are those log files. So if you open this one, let's open with Notepad.
So it's 40 KB.
This is a log file, you can see. It's terrible, right? You cannot read anything, but we're going to talk about those. So let's close this one. So this is the location for the log file that we are going to talk about. So this is XAMPP, then MySQL, then data folder. And if you go in this control panel and click on logs, you can see those logs are, this log is already in place and it is working. And if you go click here, you can see these log entries. And the last time I used this server at February 8th at 2023. So that's 1023, right? Server socket IP this. So I used this last time at 2023. So 10, 23 and 38 seconds. And I did something in that place. So those logs are there. Okay. All right. And if you click for Apache, you can see those Apache logs are here. Access error, PHP error, those 3 logs are here. But we will mainly talk about the MySQL log files. Okay. All right. So now you know the location of the log files and the types of the log files. Now I introduce you in the previous class with the global variables. So if you go click on variables, you can find a bunch of list of variables that you can modify, add, edit, change in SQL Server. You can see so many different kind of variables. If you are interested, you can pull up the manual, or you can see this sign, this question mark. If you click here, it will actually bring you to the official website for MySQL Server. And you can see there are a lot of explanation about all those different kind of log files. So if you're interested, you can read those gradually. Let's find the error log. And we came to know from our last lesson that error log means MySQL error log. You can see the bottom red arrow is activated or on by default. So let's go check it. If I go here and type error, you can see this log error, and log error is by default on. And you can see this is the file MySQL error log is there somewhere, and max correct errors, max error count, those are those different variables for this log file, and it is on by default. So we have no choice to turn it off. It is by default on, so there is no option for it. So this is error log, and I show you through the control panel window. You can actually see this log file, and you can open that log file that I opened, right? Now let's go for general log file. So in general log file, so general query log, you can turn it on or off. you can rename the general log file that you can see in the second line. So if you go here and type general, and you can see this general log file here, you can just click on edit and you can save at on. If you want, you can save it. Now you can edit this one. You can actually rename this general log file whatever you like. This is the default name here, so I'm not going to change it for now. Okay, let's go back and you can see this command to see the general log file content. You can use this command for the content of it, but check it after turning it on. So you will check this, use this command line to check the content of the MySQL general log. Next is binary log, and binary log has this kind of thing. And you can see when I went to this data folder, MySQL data folder, you can see, so this is the binary log file. So let's go in window and type bin and say log bin. And you can see this is binary file. Now it is off. So you can click edit and you can turn it on and save it. Oops. Set global login on. The variable log bin is read-only variable. What does it mean? It should be only clients with super privilege can update this variable on by default. Oh, okay, on by default. The binary log contains a record of all changes to the database, both data structure. So binary log is by default on, but why I'm looking at it off? Let's edit. Okay, so this is the file actually, I'm sorry. So you can turn off and let's see here. Again, I'm getting set the global variable off. Okay. I'm not sure how does it going on. This is on, so it actually took it on. It was off before. Let's refresh it to check it. And log binary. Yeah, so now it is on. Because root is super user, so root should be able to turn it on and off, and save. By default on. If I'm a super user, then I should have power to turn it off and on. SQL binary log. Let's see here. SQL binary log description. If set 0 and 1 is default, no login in the binary log is done to the client. Only clients with super privilege can update this variable. I'm a little bit confused now because I practiced it before and it worked for me. So it is on by default on, but I am not able to turn it off, right? I should be the super user because I logged in with it is still on, so I cannot turn it off. Now who is the super user? That's the question for me. I don't know. So if you get any information on that, or if I get any information on that, who is the super user other than root, I'm not sure. I should be able to change this because I'm the super user because I logged in using root. So binary log, and it is on. Let's move forward to the next. Relay log. Relay log is default value. There is no default value. See, this field is empty. And 1 is the safest but slowest choice, since the file is flushed, means refreshed after each write. And the value for different version is, default value is, this is the size actually. So let's go find the relay log. RELAY. So this is the relay log, and this field is empty, and you can see this 10,000. And if you click here, what is 10,000? Relay log. Let's click again here. Relay log. Yeah, right there. So relay log. Relay log base name, if not set, the baseline will be host name relay bin. Relay bin log file name on default value is none. So that's the thing. I'm looking for this meaning of 10,000. So this 10,000 is relay sync log info. Okay. So after 10,000 entry or something, it will be synchronized with the backup or something. So that it means, and those values are default for different version of MariaDB. Sync relay log info, relay log space limit, log relay recovery, it is presently off, and those are those file names, relay log info. Okay, so those are those relay log. And relay log actually help you when you replicate the server or copy server for backup. So those kind of information is preserved by relay log. So replication or relay means transferring or duplication of data. On the other hand, binary log also keep all those information. Now, slow log. If you go here and type slow, you can see this slow log file. And this slow log is currently on. And slow log is many files listed here. So slow log, slow filter. So its filter means different kind of operation has different kind of file to take notes why it is slow. And if you click here, slow log query right there. Slow log is currently empty, off. And if I try to on it, save. Yeah, so I can turn on the slow log. Now you can see the slow log entry will be started in your server. And actually log files take significant amount of time, significant amount of memory in your server. So that's, we have to be careful about. So as a part of server maintenance, you need to remove or flush those logs, or take the content backup of the log and start to create a new log. Otherwise, the log file will take a significant amount of bandwidth and memory for your server. On the other hand, some users do, like say, because every server work in a client server model. So some people save those logs in a client computer as well. So those are two advanced things. I'm not going to cover those, just give you an idea. Okay. That's another log file is DDL. So DDL, data definition language. So DDL log is monitor. You can turn on DDL log to monitor your server modes for how replication of DDL events should be executed. Legal values are strict and idempotent. So you can see the default value, but you can make it strict. So it will take these two different values. Let's go in DDL. And currently it is off. We can turn it on and set that one. Okay. All right. Now log file continue, and we talked about DDL. Now, this is an event that refreshes the general log every 6 months. So if you create this procedure, and this is an event actually, right? And it is running in every 6 months, and it will flush the general log, right? So it will drop the old log and create the new log table. And from general log, that's the table name, and truncate. So this is the event that will flush the log in every 6 months. So this is one of the thing for server management, that you have some events running in the background so that you don't need to worry about the memory or bandwidth you are losing for these log files. So that's all about log. So we are in this discussion, we learn about, we actually introduced those 6 types of logs in the previous class. Now we know the locations, and we know more about their activity and how to turn on, turn off from these variable tabs from XAMPP. And I'm sure there is an option in MySQL Workbench as well. All right, so at this point, I'm going to stop sharing, and let's take help from the machine to read this slide.
Database backup is a way to protect and restore a database. It is performed through database replication and can be done for a database or a database server. Typically, database backup is performed by the RDBMS or similar database management software. It enables the creation of a duplicate instance or copy of a database in case the primary database crashes, is corrupted, or is lost.
Okay, so you understand that database backup is just nothing but creating a backup copy, so that if any disaster happen, like the corruption or whatever, any breakout or any loss of data happen by any means, you can recover it with this backup file. And database management itself has a system to create the backups. Nowadays, all are cloud-based, and they have their own backup system, so you should not be worried about. Or you can just write an event, and that event will back up periodically. although most server has their own backup system built in, so we should not be worried about. Just we need to know those terms and how it works. Now, backup, types of backups.
Full backup. A full backup includes the structure and content of a database. You should perform full backups according to a regular schedule. Incremental backup. An incremental backup contains changes that have been made since the last full backup. Point-in-time recovery, PITR. The goal of backing up your databases is to allow you to restore them to their exact state at any specified point in time. This is known as a point-in-time recovery, PITR.
So many of you actually using this Windows operating system for long, and if you go in the recovery mode, you will see the same kind of thing. Do you want to full restoration of the operating system, or you should go back in a certain time that you know your operating system was working correctly, so that you can select a point in time recovery. And for point in time recovery, you must have the incremental backup on. Okay, so this incremental backup and point in recovery are both related, and full backup is full backup of your entire server. Okay, now how do you take the backup? So we can by exporting database, and I believe you are already familiar with the export thing, because I asked in many assignments that you will export your file, and I teach you in the very first day. So for full recovery, if you click this custom, this quick is not full. If you go in custom, you'll find select all, or you can just select two or just one only, whatever works for you, right? And then you can choose these. Those are kind of default, and you can choose like how big it would be. Then you can choose different properties of how it will be stored for restoration, right? So you can include display foreign key relationship, or skip it, display media types, or skip it. You can disable foreign key checks, because say to have a table that you lost for some reason, to getting that table data back, primary keys may not be important in that case, because you are getting all those data back. So that's why those are those different kind of options. You can add this add drop table if exists, so that it will be restoration will be easier for you. It will rewrite the all other thing. So you can add those or skip those. And you can see a lot of options you can explore gradually. Then you have to hit on the go button. Then it will create a large MySQL dump file that contains all the database objects like views, procedures, the data rows, that's the actual data of the tables or a relation or a schema. All things will be restored in this restoration process. So if I click, we have to give a name, create, say, test, right? And if I go, it will start to create this. See, this SQL file is generated. And if I open it, you can see the version, host means the time, the server version. Then you have everything, all commands, all table values, everything is copied for restoration. Okay, so that's how you'll back up your server in a SQL file. And if we use MySQL dump, you can do that with your MySQL dump command in the command prompt, and you'll be using those arguments. databases, so selective databases, all databases, single transactions, routines, events, flush logs, everything. Then you will put a location of the file name where the SQL file will be saved. And you can do that with your command prompt, MySQL dump all databases, so that you can set a location here. Then you will use which user is taking backup. So you can perform that and say, let's do it. If I go here and go here, click on the shell and click here. And if I go there, it's created a file and the backup.sql and XAMPP MySQL backup. So let's go back in C XAMPP MySQL, and you can see a backup file.sql, and it's created right 2:30 p.m. at today's date. 2:13 p.m. at today's date. So this is the backup file. And if you open it, you will see the same thing that we created using the GUI, graphical user interface, or using the command line. Okay. So you can use different forms of this. This is all databases. This is only for one database. This is for 1, 2, 3, 4 databases. So based on the different arguments, and you can just try with the different command lines. And this is the file I just showed you, right? So you can file that. And if you like to restore it, it's pretty simple. You have to go in. There is a restoration command as well, or you can do that using GUI. So choose file, and we had our backup in C XAMPP, then MySQL, and this is the backup SQL. If I go here and go, it is working. Hopefully either it will import or give me some error message. Let's see what is happening. I don't have many databases though, but it is taking a long time because it is erasing all those files and rewriting the whole server. That's why. It seems like time consuming. So that's all about database backup. So database backup, you can do 2 ways: using graphical user interface by exporting and importing, or MySQL dump, or importing command from the backup file. That's all about backup and recovery. So last item left for today is table maintenance. And let's see if it is done. It's not yet done, so it is still processing thing. Hopefully we'll get some feedback soon. Okay, so any question for MySQL dump or importing, exporting? I believe it's pretty simple, and you know how to take the backup, right? Hey, Rupesh, are you there? Rupesh, are you there?
Yeah.
Any question for me?
No, Professor. It's fine.
Okay, good. I just randomly picked you.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
Prashant Prahal, are you there?
Yeah, it's proceed. Yeah.
So do you have any question for me?
No. No, bros.
No.
Yeah.
So what I just like discussed, can you recall?
Yeah. It is
What,
about administration and also
what about? Could you please repeat?
administration.
At?
Administration and the log.
I didn't get it. Could you please tell me again?
Sir, actually, I was just looking the assignment and also the last.
Yeah, so you are not actually listening me, see?
No,
I talked about MySQL dump, right?
yeah.
The
The
one,
up to log I was listening, but after that I was just looking the assignment section and sorry for that. I will look the.
yeah, see? That's why I
Mhm.
actually want you to sometime turn on the camera and look at me so that I know you
Yeah,
are listening, right? So
yeah,
next time it's kind of embarrassing for you and embarrassing for me
yeah,
too,
yeah. Okay.
right?
Yeah, I will. Yeah,
Because I'm talking, you should listen me. Um, do you know all those things from the from earlier?
yeah. Actually, up to the events and all I know, sir. And after that, the log and all,
Mm-hmm.
I just looking. So
Okay. Okay.
sorry for that, sir. Sorry.
That's
Uh,
okay.
a-
I want you to be like attentive when
uh,
you're
s-
talking.
and
Okay.
actually, I was also. Yeah, sorry about that. So,
Shena, are you there?
Sir,
Shena.
you said Shreyans. Sir, you said Shreyans or Senas?
Okay. Oh, Shreyans, right? I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Shreyans.
Professor.
Shreyans. So Shreyans, how are you doing?
Sir, good, good, sir.
Did you familiar with MySQL backup?
No, sir. I just know. I just got right now, like when you started.
Okay, all right. Do you have any question for me?
No, Professor, not right now.
Okay, it's fairly straightforward. So I'm going back to share my screen again, okay? And the last item we're going to cover is the table management or maintenance actually. And let's see if, oh my goodness, it is still working. See this recovery thing. I don't know why this server is slow. Or I logged in and logged out with activating the password. I'm not sure if it is the right place to do that. Let's see. Let's go back to the slide and we'll talk about table maintenance. And this is the last topic for today. And how to see that table maintenance. I'm not sure if you're familiar. Let's open this my admin page in another tab because the other tab is working. And okay, let's go back to one of the tables in DB1. Hopefully I can because it's reconstructing the database. I'm not sure if you can really access any table now. Looks like not. Looks like not. In that case, I can do one thing. I can just stop the server and start again. And I can go in PSP my admin and close the other tabs. And let's see if we have any table left for us. Yeah, some is there. If I go in DB1 and just choose this customers table, right? And in customers table, I select the customers table. If you scroll tables, there, here, and if I go these account tables, and click on this operations tab, you can see this operations tab. And in the operation tabs, you can see table maintenance. And the table maintenance type is analyze table, checksum table, defragment table, flush table, and optimize table. And if you click on this question mark, it will bring you to the official description in MySQL.com website. And they have a big description here to know what are those operations MySQL server perform for you to maintain a table. So we'll talk about those: analyze table, checksum table, optimize table, and repair table. So here in analyze table. So analyze table, analyze and store the statistics of a table. So a table has some information as well. It's called metadata. Data about a table. How big is table? How many columns are there? How many rows are there? Those analysis is done by analyze table. Check table statement checks a table for errors, right? If there is any error in the table. Checksum statement reports a table checksum. It is used to verify that the contents of a table are same before and after a backup, rollback, or other operations. And these checksums or table maintenance operations are very dependent on the log tables or log keys, or the log that we learn about, those log files. Those are very dependent on those log files because they retrieve information from there. Optimize table statement clean up a table by defragmenting it. So see, server data also written on a secondary device or hard drive, right? Or any cloud storage or whatever. So the different part of a file may be written in a different locations. Yes, someone raised hand. Do you have any question? Or it is an accident?
Yes, Professor. What kind of error can we expect in a table?
Yeah, it's so when you go in error, like this checking table, right, for errors,
Yes.
that mainly for data integrity, right? And say you are trying to delete a column, and if that column is a primary key, you will not be able to delete. Or if you try to delete a column that is used for another table as a foreign key, you will not be able to delete. Then the data, relational data, the relation will be fall off, and your database will be like lack of integrity in your database. So this is one of the examples that the check table do when you perform a command, right? And this type of errors this is one of the examples is data integrity, that say you cannot make two primary key in a table, can you? You can. So those are those checking done by the check tables. Optimize table. So optimization is defragmentation that I'm just talking. Now repair tables. The repair tables repairs a possibly corrupted table. So it is not data integrity. It's all about losing data. So those are those things performed by. So let's go back here, and I choose the table right there, say the account table for DB1, right? You can see here. Let's perform an operation. Say check tables. and status is okay. So there is actually no error in this, in that table. You understand? If there is an error, then we are getting some other message instead of status okay. Let's check another thing. So analyze table. And status is okay. So it is not really giving us any detail, but it is performing some internal checkup for your table. And I already mentioned you this thing, how to find, select a table and select this operations tab. You will find all those table maintenance options for your table. So that's all about today's lecture. I just made a self task. If you like, we should take a break. We are talking about almost 1 hour and 25 minutes. So here, I ask, like, if you have time, please choose a table from one of the databases you created and click on those table maintenance operations to see the report or output. Okay. So today's lecture, we talked about 4 things. First, we started with the user privileges, right? And user creation and remove. Then we talked about the log files. Then we learned how to take backup and restore. And finally, we talked about the table maintenance option. This is not a programming. You can find some table maintenance command line as well if you just search in Google, but we can do that using graphical user interface as well. So that's all about